Oh. One, two, one, two.
Sabbath Shalom.
Shabbat shalom, my brother.
And welcome once again to the Holy Convention of NCCI. Thank you. Yahweh Elohim has enjoined on us here in Atlanta that we may come together and read out of this great legacy that has been left us by our fathers, that we may consider the things that we read, because our deliverance is near at hand. It's nearer than we think it is. A lot of us don't seem to understand the time seems to be flying by for us. But it's a reason for that.
Yes, sir.
The reason is because of the fact that just to let us know we haven't got long to stay here. That's all it's for, to let us know that we haven't got long to stay here. And when we look around and see the major disasters that's happening all over the world, we can very well see that Yahweh is on the move, and we need to be moving the way that he moves. Reading biblical and secular history, we find that each empire brought its own paganistical uniqueness as a symbol of its power. All had their idols, images, and mythological gods, and they all had part in the destruction of our chosen 12 tribes of Israel. As a result, our cursed people have been driven into darkness, and as we well know, the knowledge of heritage, purpose, or destiny has no real meaning to our people. In these latter days, Lucifer's angels has given his children the wealth and will and the knowledge that they need to disprove the holy story by creating man and cloning all life on earth that man chooses to reserve. If man can imagine it, the world has terror cells called scientists of gifted, demonized people who can make it happen. But Brother Steve, read the oracles of the church and invite him at the door, that stands at the door, that he may come in and sup with us and us with him, that we may continue to read out of this great legacy, consider what's written herein, because our salvation is within the pages of this book.
Yes, sir. I'm going to read the church oracles beginning at 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man have received a gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim giveth, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yeshua HaMashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you are sealed unto the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim, for the Mashiach's sake, have forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim as their children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and have given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness, all covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becometh saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame, and am set down with my Father in his throne. He that have an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the church.
Praise Yah. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the church and Holy Convention. I'd like to start our class today in Revelation chapter 13. Revelation chapter 13 in verse 1 through verse 8. Revelation chapter 13 in verse 1 through verse 8.
Verse 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And Satan gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshipped Satan, which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. And power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against Israel, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world.
You finished that, brother?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As the nations revived the Holy Roman Empire that had a deadly wound, rather, in 476 A.D., man believes that by reviving a one-world kingdom, man's knowledge into life eternal will be man's destiny. Seeing prophecy being made manifest before our very eyes according to the word of Yahweh Elohim, and knowing that our demise is already planned by Lucifer's children, we must strive with all of our might to walk humbly and justly before Yahshua and man. This way, we will have the power needed to withstand the wiles of Lucifer's children and do what is necessary to stay in Yahweh's good graces. So don't let your guard down and allow the adversary to gain our confidence or sympathy. Because when America receives her troubles for what she has done to our people, those alienated from the commonwealth of spiritual Israel will show that how much they really, really hate us. Joel chapter 1 and verse 1 through chapter 2 and verse 27. Joel chapter 1 and verse 1 through chapter 2 and verse 27.
Verse 1. The word of Yahweh that came to Yoel, the son of Pethuel. Hear this, ye old men, and give ear, all ye inhabitants of the land. Has this been in your days, or even in the days of your fathers? Tell ye your children of it, and let your children tell their children, and their children another generation. That which the palmer worm have left, have the locust eaten. And that which the locusts have left, have the cankerworm eaten. And that which the cankerworm have left, the caterpillar eaten.
The four empires that was brought upon us, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 5. Awake, you drunkards, and weep, and howl, all you drinkers of wine, because of the new wine, for it is cut off from your mouth. For a nation is come up upon my land, strong and without number, whose teeth are the teeth of a lion, and he have the cheek teeth of a great lion. He have laid my vine waste, and barked my fig tree. He have made it clean bare, and cast it away. The branches thereof are made white. Lament like a virgin girded with sackcloth for the husband of her youth. The meat offering and the drink offering is cut off from the house of Yahweh. The priests, Yahweh's ministers, mourn. The field is wasted, the land mourneth, for the corn is wasted, the new wine is dried up, the oil languisheth. Be ashamed, O you husbandmen. Howl, O you vine dressers, for the wheat and for the barley, because the harvest of the field is perished. The vine is dried up, and the fig tree languisheth, the pomegranate tree, the palm tree also, and the apple tree, even all the trees of the field are withered, because joy is withered away from the sons of men. Gird yourselves and lament, you priests. Howl, you ministers of the altar. Come, lie all night in sackcloth, you ministers of my Elohim. For the meat offering and the drink offering is withholden from the house of your Elohim. Sanctify your fast, call a solemn assembly, gather the elders and all the inhabitants of the land into the house of Yahweh your Elohim, and cry unto Yahweh. Alas, for the day of Yahweh is at hand, and as a destruction from the Almighty shall it come. Is not the meat cut off before our eyes, yea, joy and gladness from the house of our Elohim? The seed is rotten under their clods, the garners are laid desolate, the barns are broken down, for the corn is withered. How do the beasts groan? The herds of cattle are perplexed, because they have no pasture. Yea, the flocks of sheep are made desolate. O Yahweh, to thee will I cry, for the fire have devoured the pastures of the wilderness, and the flame have burned all the trees of the field. The beasts of the field cry also unto thee, for the rivers of waters are dried up, and the fire have devoured the pastures of the wilderness. Blow you the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Yahweh cometh, for it is nigh at hand. A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains. A great people and a strong, there have not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the garden of Edom before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yea, and nothing shall escape them. The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen so shall they run. Like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains shall they leap, like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. Before their face the people shall be much pain. All faces shall gather blackness. They shall run like mighty men, they shall climb the wall like men of war, and they shall march every one on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. Neither shall one thrust another, they shall walk every one in his path, and when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. They shall run to and fro in the city, they shall run upon the wall, they shall climb up upon the houses, they shall enter in at the windows like a thief. The earth shall quake before them, the heavens shall tremble, the sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shine.
Right. These are some people that we don't know about. These are some strangers that we've never heard about. This is the new world order that they're reviving now at the War of Armageddon, when they come in to destroy, to take, well, when they come in to destroy Judah that has went back into the city after the daughter Babylon falls and after the wilderness experience. And once we get into that city, we know that the Pope's going to be in that city because he's going to make that his house. And when we go into that city, we know it's only going to be a little while before all of the armies of the earth come up to destroy us. And the thing of it is, we know these things. We know these things today. Be careful of who you make friends with. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 10. The earth shall quake before them. The heavens shall tremble, the sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. And Yahweh shall utter his voice before his army, for his camp is very great. For he is strong that executeth his word. For the day of Yahweh is great and very terrible, and who can abide it? Therefore also now, says Yahweh, turn you even to me, with all your heart, and with fasting, and with weeping, and with mourning, and rend your heart, and not your garments, and turn unto Yahweh your Elohim, for he is gracious and merciful, slow to anger, and of great kindness, and repents him of the evil.
Now, this is what we should, during the Civil Rights Movement, what happened was we began to turn unto our enemies. And our enemies, Esau and Japhet, began to pump money into that civil rights movement. And before you knew it, black folks didn't even know what had happened. What had happened was the nations had found out how many billions of dollars we put into the economy every year. You know what they decided they was going to do? Cut that off. We're seeing the results of it now. Go ahead and read, brother. See, all they got to do is open up one door, they get us a little excited, and they just walk behind our back and do everything they want to do, and we'll never see it. You know why? We love white folks. Go ahead. We don't believe they'll do us no wrong. We believe they're our friends. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 14. Who knoweth if he will return and repent and leave a blessing behind him, even a meat offering and a drink offering unto Yahweh your Elohim? Blow the trumpet in Zion, sanctify a fast, call a solemn assembly, gather the people, sanctify the congregation, assemble the elders, gather the children and those that suck the breast. Let the bridegroom go forth of his chamber, and the bride out of her closet. Let the priests, the ministers of Yahweh, weep between the porch and the altar, and let them say, spare thy people, O Yahweh, and give not thine heritage to reproach, that the heathen should rule over them. Why should they say among the people, where is their Elohim? Then will Yahweh be jealous for his land, and pity his people. Yes, Yahweh will answer and say unto his people, behold, I will send you corn and wine and oil, and you shall be satisfied therewith, and I will no more make you a reproach among the heathen. But I will remove far off from you the northern army, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate, with his face toward the east sea, and his hinder part toward the utmost sea, and his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he have done great things. Fear not, O land, be glad and rejoice, for Yahweh will do great things. Be not afraid, you beasts of the field, for the pastures of the wilderness do spring, for the tree bears her fruit, the fig tree and the vine do yield their strength. Be glad then, you children of Yehudah, and rejoice in Yahweh your Elohim, for he hath given you the former rain moderately, and he will cause to come down for you the rain, the former rain, and the latter rain in the month Abib. And the floors shall be full of wheat, and the vat shall overflow with wine and oil. And I will restore to you the years that the locusts have eaten, the cankerworm and the caterpillar and the palmer worm, my great empires which I set among you. And you shall eat in plenty and be satisfied, and praise the name of Yahweh your Elohim, that have dealt wondrously with you, and my people shall never be ashamed. And you shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am Yahweh your Elohim, and none else, and my people shall never be ashamed.
Okay, my brother. Now, regardless of the destruction that has befallen Israel, our people, these precious promises is the only hope that we have. But they're not just for the taking, and certain written things are required of us. As we read the Holy Story, one wonder how could the fathers have had such clear warnings and still turn from Yahweh Elohim. The reason was they allowed sin to so harden them that they no longer cared to follow Yahweh. The more Yahweh punished them, the more they showed an eagerness to rebel. Being the children, we sin when we pursue our pleasures or happiness by cutting ourselves off from fellowship with the Spirit of Yahshua. So we must constantly ask ourselves, is our reform merely an outward show, or is it truly changing our hearts and lives towards humility and righteousness? Haggai chapter 1 and verse 1 through chapter 2 and verse 23. Haggai verse 1 and chapter 1 and verse 1 through chapter 2 and verse 23.
Haggai chapter 1, verse 1. In the second year of Darius the king, in the 6th month, in the first day of the month, came the word of Yahweh by Haggai the prophet unto Zerubbabel the son of Shealtiel, the governor of Yehudah, and to Yahshua the son of Josedek the high priest, saying, Thus speaks Yahweh of hosts, saying, This people say, the time is not come, the time that Yahweh's house should be built. Then came the word of Yahweh by Haggai the prophet, saying, Is it time for you, O you, to dwell in your sealed houses, and this house lie waste?
Right, now y'all built all y'all houses, got ceilings and everything in them. Is it a time for that? Why Yahweh's house is laying waste? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 5. Now therefore, thus says Yahweh of hosts, consider your ways. You have sown much and bring in little. You eat, but you have not enough. You drink, but you are not filled with drink. You clothe you, but there is none warm. And he that earns wages to put it into a bag with holes.
Right, because to go right back to the folks we just got it from. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 7. Thus says Yahweh of hosts, consider your ways. Go up to the mountain and bring wood and build a house, and I will take pleasure in it, and I will be glorified, says Yahweh. You looked for much, and lo, it came to little. And when you brought it home, I did blow upon it. Why, says Yahweh of hosts? Because of mine house that is waste, and you run every man unto his own house. Therefore the heaven over you is stayed from dew, and the earth is stayed from her fruit. And I call for a drought upon the land, and upon the mountains, and upon the corn, and upon the new wine, and upon the oil, and upon that which the ground brings forth, and upon men, and upon cattle, and upon all the labor of the hand. Then Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, and Yahshua, the son of Josedek, the high priest, with all the remnant of the people, obeyed the voice of Yahweh, their Elohim, and the words of Haggai the prophet, as Yahweh, their Elohim, had sent them. And the people did fear before Yahweh. Then spake Haggai, Yahweh's messenger, in Yahweh's message unto the people, saying, I am with you, says Yahweh. And Yahweh stirred up the spirit of Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, governor of Yehudah, and the spirit of Yahshua, the son of Jehozadak, the high priest, and the spirit of all the remnant of the people, And they came and did work in the house of Yahweh of hosts, their Elohim. In the 24th day of the 6th month, in the 2nd year of Darius the king. In the 7th month, in the 21st day of the month, came the word of Yahweh by the prophet Haggai, saying, Speak now to Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, governor of Yehuda, and Yeshua, the son of Josedek, the high priest, and to the residue of the people, saying, Who is left among you that saw this house in her first glory? And how do you see it now? Is it not in your eyes in comparison of it as nothing? Yet now be strong, O Zerubbabel, says Yahweh, and be strong, O Yeshua, son of Josedek, the high priest, and be strong, all you people of the land, says Yahweh, and work, for I am with you, says Yahweh of hosts. According to the word that I covenanted with you when you came out of Egypt, so my spirit remains among you, fear you not. For thus says Yahweh of hosts, Yet once it is a little while, and I will shake the heavens and the earth and the sea and the dry land, and I will shake all nations, and the desire of all nations shall come, and I will fill this house with glory, says Yahweh of hosts. The silver is mine, and the gold is mine, says Yahweh of hosts.
Now I wonder why we don't get none of that. That all belongs to me. But you know why he don't give us none? Because a little money corrupts. A lot of money will corrupt us totally. Yahweh knows it, and we know it. And yet and still we trying to get it, though, ain't we? So, and it causing us more problems than anything else. Money, the love of money. Go ahead, brother.
Haggai, chapter 2, verse 9. The glory of this latter house shall be greater than of the former, says Yahweh of hosts. And in this place will I give peace, says Yahweh of hosts.
Praise Yah.
In the 24th day of the 9th month, in the 2nd year of Darius, came the word of Yahweh by Haggai the prophet, saying, Thus says Yahweh of hosts, Ask now the priest concerning the law, saying, If one bear holy flesh in the skirt of his garment, and with his skirt do touch bread or pottage or wine or oil or any meat, shall it be holy? And the priest answered and said, No. Then said Haggai, If one that is unclean by a dead body touch any of these, shall it be unclean? And the priest answered and said, It shall be unclean. Then answered Haggai and said, So is this people, and so is this nation before me, says Yahweh. And so is every work of their hands, and that which they offer there is unclean. And now I pray you, consider from this day and upward, from before a stone was laid upon a stone in the temple of Yahweh. Since those days were, when one came to an heap of 20 measures, there were but 10. When one came to the wine vat for to draw out 50 vessels out of the press, there were but 20. I smote you with blasting and with mildew and with hail in all the labors of your hands. Yet you turn not to me, says Yahweh. Consider now from this day and upward, from the 4th and 20th day of the 9th month, even from the day that the foundation of Yahweh's temple was laid, consider it. Is the seed yet in the barn? Yea, as yet the vine and the fig tree and the pomegranate and the olive tree have not brought forth, from this day will I bless you. And again, the word of Yahweh came unto Haggai in the 4th and 20th day of the month, saying, Speak to Zerubbabel, governor of Yehuda, saying, I will shake the heavens and the earth, and I will overthrow the throne of the kingdoms, and I will destroy the strength of the kingdoms of the heathen, and I will overthrow the chariots and those that ride in them, and the horses and their riders shall come down, every one by the sword of his brother. And that day, says Yahweh of hosts, will I take thee, O Zerubbabel, my servant, the son of Shealtiel, says Yahweh, and will make you as a signet, for I have chosen you, says Yahweh of hosts.
Praise God. Being called by Yahweh Elohim in these critical times and being raised up in this sure doctrine, we understand that we've been called to worship and serve and to build and provide a sanctuary for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But hostile opposition, being busybodies and not having our priorities in place and not setting the right goals, we cause discouragement and cause us to neglect our charges and thus reject Yahweh and the body of Yahshua. So we put the lion's share of our energies in securing chosen lifestyles and ensuring up the things we acquire to appease our pleasures. But Miss America's Pie causes us to owe our soul to the company store and to neglect the reason for our calling and to change our priorities and give less time, resources, and spiritual thought and deeds to Godward. But if we don't give Yahweh Elohim first place in our lives, your works for the flesh will consume you. Why? Because prioritizing your natural desires and physical need ruins one's relationship with the Holy Spirit, destroys the soul, and destroys houses and nations. Surely, we must not allow ourselves to be overcome by the whims of the flesh. Jeremiah chapter 23 in verse 1 through verse 40. Jeremiah chapter 23 verse 1 through verse 40. Because if we allow ourselves to be overcome by the flesh, then truly the flesh will consume us. Yirmiyahu chapter 23 in verse 1 through verse 40, my brother.
Verse 1. Woe be unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pastor, says Yahweh. Therefore, thus says Yahweh Elohim of Israel against the pastors that feed my people. You have scattered my flock and driven them away and have not visited them. Behold, I will visit upon you the evil of your doings, says Yahweh. And I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all countries, whither I have driven them, and will bring them again to their folds, and they shall be fruitful and increase. And I will set up shepherds over them, which shall feed them, and they shall fear no more, neither be dismayed, neither shall they be lacking, says Yahweh. Behold, the days come, says Yahweh, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth.
Praise Yah.
In his days, Yehudah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely, and this is his name whereby he shall be called Yahweh our righteousness. Therefore, behold, the days come, says Yahweh, that they shall no more say Yahweh lives, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But Yahweh lives, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country and from all countries whither I had driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land.
Praise Yah.
Mine heart within me is broken because of the prophets. All my bones shake. I am like a drunken man, and like a man whom wine have overcome, because of Yahweh and because of the words of his holiness. For the land is full of adulterers. For because of swearing the land mourneth, the pleasant places of the wilderness are dried up, and their course is evil, and their force is not right. For both prophet and priest are profane. Yea, in my house have I found their wickedness, says Yahweh. Wherefore their way shall be unto them as slippery ways in the darkness. They shall be driven on and fall therein. For I will bring evil upon them, even the year of their visitation, says Yahweh. I have seen folly in the prophets of Samaria. They prophesy in Baal and cause my people Israel to err. I have seen also in the prophets of Jerusalem a horrible thing. They commit adultery and walk in lies. they strengthen also the hands of evildoers, that none does return from his wickedness. They are all of them unto me as Sodom, and the inhabitants thereof as Gomorrah.
This is why the Messiah kept telling the folks to repent. Do what you're supposed to do. Stop playing these games y'all playing. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 15. Therefore, thus says Yahweh of hosts concerning the prophets, behold, I will feed them with wormwood and make them drink the water of gall. For from the prophets of Jerusalem is profaneness gone forth into all the land. Thus says Yahweh of hosts, hearken not unto the words of the prophets that prophesy unto you. They make you vain. They speak a vision of their own heart, and not out of the mouth of Yahweh. They say still unto them that despise me, Yahweh have said, you shall have peace. And they say unto everyone that walks after the imagination of his own heart, no evil shall come upon you. For who have stood in the counsel of Yahweh and have perceived and heard his word? Who have marked his word and heard it? Behold, a whirlwind of Yahweh is gone forth in fury, even a grievous whirlwind. It shall fall grievously upon the head of the wicked. The anger of Yahweh shall not return until he have executed, until he have performed the thoughts of his heart. In the latter days you shall consider it perfectly. I have not sent these prophets, yet they ran. I have not spoken to them, yet they prophesied. But if they had stood in my counsel and had caused my people to hear my words, then they should have turned them from their evil way and from the evil of their doing. Am I a Elohim at hand, says Yahweh, and not a Elohim afar off? Can any hide himself in secret places that I shall not see him, says Yahweh? Do not I fill heaven and earth, says Yahweh? I have heard what the prophets said that prophesy lies in my name, saying, I have dreamed, I have dreamed.
Right, they're having his birthday when? Ain't it Monday? Huh? Right, folks tell me I'm not going to this, but I'm going to that. Folks, some people trying to distance themselves from that because what has happened to the King Center. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 26. How long shall this be in the heart of the prophets that prophesy lies? Yea, they are prophets of the deceit of their own heart, which think to cause my people to forget my name by their dreams, which they tell every man to his neighbor, as their fathers have forsaken my name for Baal. The prophet that have a dream, let him tell a dream. And he that have my word, let him speak my word faithfully. What is the chaff to the wheat, says Yahweh? Is not my word like as a fire, says Yahweh, and like a hammer that breaks the rock in pieces? Therefore, behold, I am against the prophets, says Yahweh, that steal my words, everyone from his neighbor. Behold, I am against the prophets, says Yahweh, that use their tongues and say, he says.
I talked to the Lord last night, and you know, he told me so and so and so and so. And I keep asking, well, you go to one of them whorehouses out there. How's the Lord talking to you, and I don't see him talking to nobody else in church? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 32. Behold, I am against them that prophesy false dreams, says Yahweh, and do tell them, and cause my people to err by their lies and by their lightness. Yet I sent them not, nor commanded them. Therefore they shall not profit this people at all, says Yahweh.
Right, they're not going to profit this people. Let these people believe in that prosperity doctrine and that heaven thing when Yahweh is putting the rug, the economic rug from under our feet to make us turn to him. So let them tell these people these lies. He that has an ear, let him hear. Yeah. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 33. And when this people, or the prophet, or a priest shall ask thee, saying, what is the burden of Yahweh? Thou shalt then say unto them, what burden? I will even forsake you, says Yahweh.
Right. People ask you, say, man, what's going on? You better tell them. I don't care what situation or circumstances you in, you better tell them. You can't tell them when everything's going to be all right. You can't tell them you don't know because you do know. And you know what Yahweh does when we do things like that? When we don't represent him, he turns his back on us. And then we wonder why we have things happen to us. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 34. And as for the prophet and the priest and the people that shall say, the burden of Yahweh, I will even punish that man and his house. Thus shall you say to everyone to his neighbor and everyone to his brother, what have Yahweh answered, and what have Yahweh spoken? And the burden of Yahweh shall you mention no more. For every man's word shall be his burden. For you have perverted the words of the living Elohim, of Yahweh of hosts, our Elohim. Thus shall you say to the prophet, what have Yahweh answered you, and what have Yahweh spoken? But since you say, the burden of Yahweh, therefore thus says Yahweh, because you say this word, the burden of Yahweh, and I have sent unto you, saying, you shall not say the burden of Yahweh. Therefore, behold, I, even I, will utterly forget you, and I will forsake you and the city that I gave you and your fathers, and cast you out of my presence. And I will bring an everlasting reproach upon you, and a perpetual shame, which shall not be forgotten.
And we are living proof that Yahweh did bring all these things upon our people, but yet and still, there is still hope in our end because of who we are and because of covenants and promises that was made to our fathers. Isaiah chapter 10 and verse 1 through chapter 12 and verse 6. Isaiah chapter 10 and verse 1 through chapter 12 and verse 6. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, let's say that scripture. You know, that's really true with the burden, because also we look at this confident, you know what I mean? Because people, the prophecy, he's got a burden to tell the people who want the Old Testament, the burden.
Sure, brother. Folks don't want to hear no burdens today. See? Folks don't want to hear no burdens today. This is why Yahweh say, if you say it's a burden, then I'm going to destroy you. So you're supposed to say, what is the word of Yahweh to me? You know.
Even the spiritual Negro song, the burden to sing to them.
Right. Isaiah chapter 10 and verse 1 through chapter 12 and verse 6. Pardon me? I didn't hear you.
Said Pat Robinson should have read this part right here.
Man, Pat Robinson is cool, man. You know that. You see what he said about Ariel Sharon, didn't, because he gave away the land, and the Jews aren't supposed to give away the land and anything. What makes him think he's a Jew? Show him how deceived he is. Like the scripture said, like the epistle said, I know those who say that they are Jews and are not, but are of the synagogue of Lucifer. Yeah, right. And go ahead and read, Steve.
Verse 1. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed, to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the father.
Right. You don't have to do nothing. All you got to do is come to church and buy you a blessing, and you going to heaven. Right over here one day, one of these old ladies had a little boy over there jacked up. Talking about, you made me miss my blessing. See what she went to church for? She going to church to receive a blessing. It was a blessing to be able to come here today. Yeah. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 3. And what will you do in the day of visitation, and in the desolation which shall come from far? To whom will you flee for help, and where will you leave your glory?
Right. When this deal goes down, check and see how many white folks we're going to run to that's going to help us. Or anybody of any other nations. You know why? Right now they're separating themselves from us.
That's right.
Now when this deal go down, we see what America is showing on the news. And even right now, down in the Ninth Ward, down in New Orleans, they done set that whole section on fire. Did y'all see that? Huh? Now the people ain't got nothing to go back to, have they? Right. Now what do we think when this deal go down, when we run the master and say, I need some help?
And they telling them, if you go back down there and build a house, you're going to get put out of it.
Right.
Because they plan on making that whole thing a wetland.
Of
Just
course.
swamps. That's all it's going to be.
Of course, brother. Of course, they need to put the wetlands back. They know that. They're going to do that. Plus, they're going to build them southeastern coast, Las Vegas. It's all about money, brother. The whole thing is about money. What we got less of. But go ahead. But I know why we got less of it. As long as we got less money, we have a tendency to stay on our knees praying to Yahweh. But when we start getting some good money, our prayers come far and few in between. You know why?
That's true.
We forget Yahweh. What we say is this: man, I did this under my own power. Right, right. These white folks good to me, child. Go on and read, brother.
Verse 4. Without me, they shall bow down under the prisoners, and they shall fall under the slain. For all this, his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. O Assyrian, the rod of mine anger, and the staff in their hand is mine indignation. I will send him against a hypocritical nation, and against the people of my wrath will I give him a charge, to take the spoil and to take the prey, and to tread them down like the mire of the streets. Howbeit, he means not so, neither does his heart think so. But it is in his heart to destroy and cut off nations, not a few. For he says, are not my princes altogether kings? Is not Calno as Carchemish? Is not Hamath as Arpad? Is not Samaria as Damascus? As my hand have found the kingdoms of idols, and whose graven images did excel them of Jerusalem and of Samaria, shall not I, as I have done unto Samaria and her idols, so do to Jerusalem and her idols?
And if he did it to Samaria and Jerusalem when they was in the land, what do you think that he going to do to us? Go ahead, because see, they weren't under the blood of the Mashiach. They didn't have no intercessor. But we are under the blood of the Mashiach, and Yahweh is not going to take it lightly when we commit sin, because of the blood, because of an innocent brother died that we could receive salvation. But we think light of that. When we get ready to do what we want to do, no, we say, man, put God over there in the corner, put him behind that curtain over there. I got to do this. Right? Go ahead. I'll worry about that later on. Right. Right. And when it comes up on us, we're unable to bear it. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 12. Wherefore it shall come to pass that when the Adonai have performed his whole work upon Mount Sion and on Jerusalem, I will punish the fruit of the stout heart of the king of Assyria and the glory of his high looks. For he says, by the strength of my hands I have done it, and by my wisdom.
We do the same thing. We do the exact same thing once we think we doing pretty good. Go ahead, brother.
For I am prudent, and I have removed the bounds of the people, and have robbed their treasures, and I have put down the inhabitants like a valiant man. And my hand have found as a nest the riches of the people, and as one gathers eggs that are left, have I gathered all the earth. And there was none that moved the wing, or opened the mouth, or peeped. Shall the axe boast itself against him that heareth therewith, or shall the saw magnify itself against him that shaketh it? As if the rod would shake itself against them that lift it up, or as if the staff should lift up itself, as if it were no wood. Therefore shall the Adonai of hosts, send among his fat ones leanness, and under his glory he shall kindle a burning like the burning of a fire. And the light of Israel shall be for a fire, and his Holy One for a flame, and it shall burn and devour his thorns and his briars in one day, and shall consume the glory of his forest and of his fruitful field, both soul and body, and they shall be as when a standard bearer fainteth. And the rest of the trees of his forest shall be few, that a child may write them. And it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel, and such as are escaped of the house of Jacob, shall no more again stay upon him that smote them, but shall stay upon Yahweh, the Holy One of Israel, in truth.
Right, it's going to come a time when we're going to tell all these folks, get away from me. I'm staying up on the God of Israel because that's the only hope I have. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 21. The remnant shall return, even the remnant of Jacob, unto the mighty Elohim. For though thy people Israel be as the sand of the sea, yet a remnant of them shall return. The consumption decreed shall overflow with righteousness. For the Adonai Elohim of hosts shall make a consumption even determined in the midst of all the land. Therefore, thus says the Adonai Elohim of hosts, all my people that dwell in Zion, be not afraid of the Assyrian. He shall smite thee with a rod, and shall lift up his staff against thee after the manner of Egypt. For yet a very little while, and the indignation shall cease, and mine anger in their destruction. And Yahweh of hosts shall stir up a scourge for him, according to the slaughter of Midian at the rock of Oreb. And as his rod was under the sea, so shall he lift it up after the manner of Egypt. And it shall come to pass in that day that his burden shall be taken away from off your shoulder, and his yoke from off your neck, and the yoke shall be destroyed because of the anointing.
Praise Yah.
He is come to Aiath, he is passed to Migron. At Michmash he have laid up his carriages.
Now this is going off into the rest part of this. This is going off into when the beast comes up to Jerusalem. Some of the things he's going to do. But go ahead and read it, brother.
Verse 29. They are gone over the passage. They have taken up their lodging at Jeba. Ramah is afraid. Gibeah of Saul is fled. Lift up thy voice, O daughter of Gallim. Cause it to be heard unto Laish, O poor Anathoth. Macmedah is removed. The inhabitants of Jeben gather themselves to flee. And yet shall he remain at Nob that day. He shall shake his hand against the mount of the daughter of Yehuda, the hill of Jerusalem. Behold, the Adonai, Yahweh of hosts, shall lock the bow with terror, and the high ones of stature shall be hewn down, and the haughty shall be humbled. And he shall cut down the thickest of the forest with iron, and Lebanon shall fall by a mighty one. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. And the Spirit of Yahweh shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and of fear of Yahweh, and shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of Yahweh. And he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, nor reprove after the hearing of his ears. But with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf, and the young lion, and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. And the cow and the bear shall feed, their young ones shall lie down together, the lion shall eat straw like the ox. And the sucking child shall play on the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockatrice den. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of Yahweh, as the waters cover the sea. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Euro-Gentile seek, and his rest shall be glorious. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Adonai shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt, and from Patroth, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Yehuda from the four corners of the earth.
Praise Yah.
The envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Yehuda shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Yehuda, and Yehuda shall not vex Ephraim. But they shall fly upon the shoulders of the Philistines toward the west. They shall spoil them of the east together. They shall lay their hand upon Edom and Moab, and the children of Ammon shall obey them. And Yahweh shall utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea, and with his mighty wind shall he shake his hand over the river, and shall smite it in the 7 streams, and make men go over dry shod. Excuse me, verse 16. And there shall be a highway for the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, like as it was to Israel in the day that he came up out of the land of Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
And in that day you shall say, O Yahweh, I will praise thee. Though you were angry with me, your anger is turned away, and you comfort me. Behold, Elohim is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid. For the Most High Yahweh is my strength and my song. He also is become my salvation.
Praise Yah.
Therefore with joy shall you draw water out of the wells of salvation. And in that day shall you say, praise Yahweh, call upon his name, declare his doings among the people, make mention that his name is exalted. Sing unto Yahweh, for he have done excellent things. This is known in all the earth. Cry out and shout, thou inhabitant of Zion, for great is the Holy One of Israel in the midst of them.
Praise Yah. Yehuda had become corrupt and was surrounded by Edom, Moab, Ammon, and Ham, the hostile nation who eventually rejoiced as they took our land. But Yehuda desperately needed a revival of righteousness, justice, and faithfulness. They also needed to turn from selfishness and turn compassion to those who needed it. Because the righteousness that Yahweh values is more than refraining from sin, but actively leaning toward others that Yahweh might be edified in those that we come in contact with. We know that a golden age is yet to come, a time when our children will have no fear, a time when tranquility and righteousness will be the norm for mankind. So these are the things that Yahweh has sent us out to preach to the world, to show man that there truly is a better day coming, a day that man has never known upon the earth, a day when peace and prosperity and righteousness will be the stability of those times. Isaiah chapter 43 and 1 through chapter 44 and verse 5. Isaiah chapter 43 and 1 through chapter 44 and verse 5.
You know, brother, you don't get this kind of teaching in these other churches like this. Although they claim that, they have schools and everything. I was reminded of a story once where 3 little boys had gone to Sunday school and they was rehashing what they had learned. Mm-hmm. And the first little boy, they asked himself, what did you learn? He said he learned that, they call him Jesus, he showed a light and said he was the light of the world. Mm-hmm. Another little boy showed some table salt, that he was the salt of the earth. Mm-hmm. And another little boy came up with an egg and he cracked it over the priest's head and he said, what does this mean? He said, take my yoke up on you.
Read bad. Go on and read, Steve.
It says,
before that brother say something else.
Yeah. It says chapter 43, verse 1. But now, thus says Yahweh that created thee, O Jacob, and he that formed thee, O Israel. Fear not, for I have redeemed thee. I have called thee by thy name. Thou art mine. When thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee. And through the rivers, they shall not overflow thee. When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned, neither shall the flame kindle upon thee. For I am Yahweh, thy Elohim, the Holy One of Israel, thy Savior. I gave Egypt for thy ransom, Ethiopia and Seba for thee. Since thou wert precious in my sight, thou hast been honorable, and I have loved thee. Therefore will I give men for thee, and people for thy life. Fear not, for I am with thee. I will bring thy seed from...
Go ahead, bro.
Verse 5. Fear not, for I am with thee. I will bring thy seed from the east, and gather thee from the west. I will say to the north, give up, and to the south, keep not back. Bring my sons from far, and my daughters from the ends of the earth, even everyone that is called by my name. For I have created him for my glory. I have formed him, yea, I have made him. Bring forth the blind people that have eyes, and the deaf that have ears. Let all the nations be gathered together, and let the people be assembled. Who among them can declare this and show us former things? Let them bring forth their witnesses, that they may be justified, or let them hear and say, it is true. You are my witnesses, says Yahweh, and my servant whom I have chosen, that you may know and believe me and understand that I am he. Before me there was no God formed, neither shall there be after me. I, even I, am Yahweh, and beside me there is no Savior. I have declared and have saved, and I have showed when there was no strange God among you. Therefore you are my witnesses, says Yahweh, that I am Elohim. Yea, before the day was, I am he, and there is none that can deliver out of my hand. I will work, and who shall let it? Thus says Yahweh, your Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. For your sake I have sent to America, and have brought down all their nobles and the Aryans, whose cry is in the ships. I am Yahweh, your Holy One, the Creator of Israel, your King. Thus says Yahweh, which maketh a way in the sea, and a path in the mighty waters, which bringeth forth the chariot and horse, the army and the power. They shall lie down together. They shall not rise. They are extinct. They are quenched as tow. Remember you not the former things, neither consider the things of old. Behold, I will do a new thing. Now shall it spring forth. Shall you not know it? I will even make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. The beasts of the field shall honor me, the dragons and the owls, because I give waters in the wilderness and rivers in the desert to give drink to my people, my chosen. This people have I formed for myself. They shall show forth my praise. But you have not called upon me, O Jacob, but you have been weary of me, O Israel.
Right. We say, man, what I need God for? I'm doing good by myself. I don't need you. Yeah, right. If I grab onto you, I'm going to have to give up something. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 23. You have not brought me the small cattle of your burnt offerings, neither have you honored me with your sacrifices. I have not caused you to serve with an offering, nor wearied you with incense. You have bought me no sweet cane with money, neither have you filled me with the fat of your sacrifices. But you have made me to serve with your sins. You have wearied me with your iniquities. I am he that blots out your transgressions for mine own sake, and will not remember your sins.
Praise Yah.
Put me in remembrance. Let us plead together. Declare you that you may be justified. Your first father have sinned, and your teachers have transgressed against me. Therefore I have profaned the princes of the sanctuary, and have given Jacob to the curse, and Israel to reproaches. Yet now hear, O Jacob, my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen. Thus says Yahweh that made you, and formed you from the womb, which will help you. Fear not, O Jacob, my servant, and thou, Yeshurun, whom I have chosen. For I will pour water upon him that is thirsty, and floods upon the dry ground. I will pour my spirit upon your seed, and my blessing upon your offspring, and they shall spring up as among the grass, as willows by the watercourses. One shall say, I am Yahweh's, and another shall call himself by the name of Jacob, and another shall subscribe with his hand unto Yahweh, and surname himself by the name of Israel.
Praise Yah. Romans chapter 9 and verse 31 through chapter 11 and verse 29. Romans chapter 9 and verse 31 through chapter 11 and verse 29.
Verse 31. But Israel, which followed after the law of righteousness, have not attained to the law of righteousness. Wherefore? Because they sought it not by faith, but as it were by the works of the law. For they stumble at that stumbling stone.
We stumble on the stumbling stone. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 33. As it is written, Behold, I lay in Judah a stumbling stone and rock of offense, and whoso believes on him shall not be ashamed. Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to Yahweh for Israel is that they might be saved. For I bear them record that they have a zeal of Elohim, but not according to knowledge. For they, being ignorant of Elohim's righteousness and going about to establish their own righteousness, have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of Elohim.
Right, and then folks come say, well, I didn't interpret that way. Interpret it that way. I don't care which way you interpret it. This is what it said. Now you deal with it the way you got to deal with it. Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 4. For the Mashiach is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believes. For Moshe describes the righteousness which is of the law, that the man which does those things shall live by them. But the righteousness which is of faith speaks on this wise, say not in thine heart, who shall ascend into heaven, that is, to bring the Mashiach down from above? Or who shall descend into the deep, that is, to bring up the Mashiach again from the dead? But what says it? The word is near you, even in your mouth and in your heart. That is, the word of faith which we preach, that if you shall confess with your mouth the Adonai Yahshua, and shall believe in your heart that Israel have raised him from the dead, you shall be saved.
Right, but if you believe in the law that was contained in the ordinance, the animal sacrifice, then you should be killing animals. Okay, go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 10. For with the heart man believes unto righteousness, and with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. For the scripture says, whosoever believes on him shall not be ashamed. For there is no difference between the Jew and the Greek, for the same Adonai over all is rich unto all that call upon him. For whosoever shall call upon the name of the Adonai shall be saved.
Not just calling upon his name, so you know his name, Yahshua. So you know his father's name is Yahweh. So what does that mean just because you know that if you're not doing what he say do? Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 14. How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? And how shall they preach except they be sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace and bring glad tidings of good things.
Right, we just don't like what we see. That's all. We just don't like what we see. We don't like what go on, but that has nothing to do with the word, does it? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 16. But they have not all obeyed the gospel. For Isaiah said, Yahweh, who have believed our report. So then, faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of Elohim. But I say, Have they not heard? Yes, verily, their sound went into all the earth, and their words unto the ends of the world. But I say, did not Israel know? First, Moshe says, I will provoke you to jealousy by them that are no people, and by a foolish nation will I anger you. But Esau is very bold and says, I was found of them that sought me not. I was made manifest unto them that asked not after me. But to Israel he say, all day long I have stretched forth my hands unto a disobedient and gainsaying people.
Right, I'm going to put you on the back burner. I'll deal with you next week. But I got this I want to do today. I'll pick you up later on. Right, right. Go ahead, brother.
Romans chapter 11, verse 1. I say then, have Elohim cast away his people? Elohim forbid. For I also am an Israelite, of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin.
But Christian tell you in a minute, especially our people, well, sure, Christ came to Israel, but what happened was the Jews didn't believe him. So what he did was he cast away the Jews and turned to the Gentiles. No, he didn't. He grafted the Gentiles into Jake's tree because that's what he was going to do in the beginning. Didn't they have a law for the strangers when we became out of Egypt? So there's nothing new under the sun. The mystery to our fathers was how he was going to bring this thing about. Okay. Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 2. Elohim have not cast away his people which he foreknew. Don't you know what the scripture says of Elijah? How he make intercession to y'all against Israel, saying, Adonai, they have killed your prophets and digged down your altars, and I am left alone, and they seek my life.
Right. All of the prophets had problems out of Jake, because Jake wouldn't do what Jake going to do. Jake going to do what Jake going to do. He come hell or high water, and we know it. As long as it don't rain too hard and the creek don't rise. Jake going to do just what Jake wants to do. Jake going to take Yahweh and put him over there in the corner when he get ready to. When Jake get ready to commit their iniquity, they don't care nothing about Yahweh. The only thing they thinking about then is their own pride and what they want. They don't care nothing about Yahweh then. Go ahead and read, bro.
Verse 4. But what, says the answer of Elohim unto him? I have reserved to myself 7,000 men which have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal. Even so then at this present time also, there is a remnant according to the election of grace.
144,000 was the remnant, wasn't it? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 6. And if by grace, then is it no more of works, otherwise grace is no more grace. But if it be of works, then is it no more grace, otherwise, work is no more work.
Right. Yahweh set this thing in order. In regards to what goes down, some are already called, chosen, and predestinated to salvation in regards to what goes down. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 7. What then? Israel have not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election have obtained it, and the rest were blinded. According as it is written, Elohim have given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear until this day.
But blessed is the man to whom Yahweh will not impute iniquity. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 9. And Dawid says, let their table be made a snare and a trap and a stumbling block and a recompense unto them. Let their eyes be darkened that they may not see, and bow down their back always.
Now all these mighty men and all the prophets and so forth prayed. They told Israel what Yahweh had to say, but they prayed against Israel. You know why? Israel is a bunch of fault finders. See? Israel is a bunch of snakes. See? Israel will talk about you to everybody. Let Israel see something that you doing that they don't like, and your name going to be mud in their eye. They're going to always be in your face. Well, don't you think, well, I think this. Don't nobody give a damn what you think. See, the judge stands at the door. You see, we don't know. This is why you never find me accusing anybody of anything. You know why? Yahweh is the judge. So what I do, I see something, and I back up and say, okay, you told me you're going to do your job? Do it. And go on and do my job. Be done with it. Go ahead and read. It don't make no difference, man. If a prostitute come in that door there all jacked up, put a skirt on and let her sit down. Maybe next week we'll baptize her. Okay? But then there'll be those among us that'll say, He let her come in church, and she's a hoe. Well, if you had sex before you got married, you a hoe too. Yeah. Go on and read, brother.
Verse 11. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? Elohim forbid. But rather through their fall, salvation is come unto the Euro-Gentiles for to provoke Israel to jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
Now if the fall of them be the riches of the world.
Which all the Gentiles, all the nations got, the riches of the world. We ain't got nothing, right? Go ahead, brother.
And the diminishing of them, the riches of the Euro-Gentiles.
We are considered a minority, right? Go ahead, brother.
How much more, therefore?
How much more shall Israel's fullness be now that y'all have received all these goodies and so forth? Ain't no goodies left on earth. See, the only goodies left now is spiritual goodies. This is what Israel is going to receive. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 13. For I speak to you, Euro-Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Euro-Gentile, I magnify mine office. If by any means I may provoke to immolation them which are my flesh, and might save some of them. For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead?
Mm-hmm.
For if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy. And if the root be holy, so are the branches.
Right, from all the holy seed, from Adam down through all of them were holy seeds, weren't they? And then Yahweh called Abraham, gave him Isaac, gave Isaac Jacob, and gave Jacob 12 boys and made covenants with, and we are the recipients of all the covenants that was made, right? So the Gentiles was grafted into our tree, right? Now we go to church on the first day of the week because they had cut down our tree and set up a superficial tree, and we go to church with them. You know why? We love them. We love their ways. You know why? We love what they got. We want it. Yeah.
And you know, you did a class about that in Ephesians, and you talking about how the European Gentiles is going to be heirs and fellow citizens.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to run everything.
Okay.
And we enjoy the pleasures over here, but we don't run anything.
Right.
They got all the money and all the power.
Mm-hmm.
And
Then we gonna have all the money and all the power,
Right.
and then we gonna run everything, bro.
Right.
We gonna tell them when to sit down, when to get
Right.
up. They gonna give you hewers of wood and drawers of water. But there's no way that we can treat them the way that they treated us. There's no way that we are sin with them in that kingdom the way that we sin with them now.
And this is, I made a point with a brother the other day. He said, well, there's no such thing as a Jew. The Greeks and Jews are the same. I say, brother, and I took him to Revelation and showed him that holy city.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, how you going to get in there? I don't see your name written there.
Hmm.
Talking to this Gentile,
Mm-hmm.
I say, I see all the sons, 12 sons of Jacob. Their names are in the holy city.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how are you coming in there?
Mm-hmm.
And brother, he couldn't get out of there.
Of course not, brother, but they don't care. They don't care, like I was telling y'all the other week. The Gentile I talked with when I went to get my brother out the slammer up there. The Gentile I talked with, he knew that he was that the winter solstice was a pagan holiday, and he had fried him a turkey for Christmas. I said, well, the Messiah was born in the summer. He said, I was frying my Christmas turkey. It had nothing to do with the Messiah. He said, I know he was born in summer, and I know who you are. Okay. Everybody know but us. We so busy trying to be like Master that we don't consider the holiness that surrounds us. We don't even consider the place that we have with the God of creation. You know why? We love ourselves some white folks and their ways. Ain't no doubt about it. We know it. We know it. We know it.
But
White folks move in the neighborhood, pay $35,000, $65,000 for a house, stay there 10 years. We move in the same house and pay $200,000 for it. You know why? We love what they have. We mimic their ways. We want to be just like them. Go on and read, brother.
Romans chapter 11, verse 17. And if some of the branches be broken off,
Not all the branches now.
and you, being a wild olive tree, were grafted in among them, and with them partakers of the root and fatness of the olive
You're
tree.
partakers of the root and the fatness of the olive tree, right? Well, if you graft an orange branch into an apple tree, Don't you know that branch is going to eventually taste like an apple? But that tree will never taste like the orange. You know why? The root and fatness of the tree is definitely one seed, an orange. You have to taste, become like that seed. But everything we do, the clothes we wear, the type cars we drive, the houses, the type foods we eat and everything. This is why we pray over our stuff and bless it. But you know what? I've been a lot of places with a lot of people, and they sit down and just start eating. See? Especially if Jake ain't around. Just sit down and start eating, run off in the mouth, and didn't give thanks for that garbage. No, it's going to kill you. They're putting so many preservatives in food now, they don't even have to put people in the ground. But this lady nigga out there, he ain't going to stink for a long time. Go on and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 18. Boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root you.
Now, when you go to Christian church, they ain't telling you that. See, they're bearing us now, right? We busting down the doors of their denominations, aren't we? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 19.
And look what's happening. Look what happened right up there at the Cathedral of the Holy Spirit. They busted Pop Daddy. That dude got half black babies all over the community up there. But I bet you what? Turn on TV, I bet you still on. They busted Jimmy Swaggart coming out the whole house about 3-4 times, right? And he still preaching? Okay.
Church got bigger than it.
Of course. You know why? We love it
That
like
drama,
that,
though.
brother. Oh, he's just like me. Right. Right. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 19.
And you know what, brother? The brother that one of the guy's wife was, that Earl Paul got a kid by, say he knew what was going on and wouldn't say nothing.
He was next in succession to taking his place.
Right. Say he knew what was going on and wouldn't even say nothing.
That Gentile got on there, man. She was about 41 or 42. She was a plumb grown woman. She said thought she was doing the will of God. Lay down with Earl Paul.
All right.
And these white folks buying
I
them,
don't see
they
that one.
persuaded them. They forced them to do that. They didn't know. Because
Nobody forcing nobody to do nothing. Folks be getting up off that action because that's what they want to do, man. Yeah.
And they also said something about the children. You know what? Earl Paul, he more than admitted. He said, well, let's not get the children involved because we're going to make a scandal. So it's known that he got some children out in that congregation.
Of course it is.
They sprinkle everywhere out there.
But who cares? Who cares? They still going to church, ain't they? Okay. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 19. You will say then, the branches were broken off that I might be grafted in. Well, because of unbelief they were broken off, and you stand by faith. Be not high-minded, but fear.
Right, because the branches wasn't broken off so that you could be grafted in. The branches were broken off because of sin. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 21. For if Elohim spared not the natural branches, take heed, lest he also spare not you. Behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of Elohim. On them which fail, severity. But toward you, goodness, if you continue in his goodness. Otherwise, you also shall be cut off.
Well, when you read the book of Acts, the Gentiles was going to church on the same day that we held at the Sabbath day, weren't they?
Yes, sir.
Weren't they? But now, they got their own thing in order and just took everything that Yahweh had to say and threw it out the window. So you don't have to be worried about all that loss and so forth. We changed the Sabbath because you had holy days. We understand that. You had Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and then the Feast of First Fruit. Well, that's what we celebrate. We don't celebrate the Sabbath. We celebrate Resurrection Sunday. Yahweh said the Sabbath is a sign between me and the children of Israel. The biggest thing that got Israel cut out of the land was not keeping the Shabbat. Okay. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 23.
But we don't care. You know what we do? Man, we go to work. We go play basketball. We go do anything we want to do on the Sabbath day. You know why? It's because that's what we want to do. In other words, we tell Yahweh, well, I'm going to put you on hold this week because I got something I need to do with my friends. Right. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 23. And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in. For Elohim is able to graft them in again.
And when we read the book of Revelations and all the prophets, we see that Yahweh did graft them back in, didn't he? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 24. For if you were cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these, which be the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree? For I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part has happened to Israel until the fullness of the Euro Gentiles become in.
Until they make them a man and fall down and worship. And we know they already cloned him. We already know that. What they need God for? Huh? They can make a man. All they need is one of the original substances that Yahweh created, and they can make anything they want to make. And we see it. We see it in the grocery store. We see all these animals and everything they cloning, and the food that they're raising nowadays. When they raise corn, every stalk got 7 ears on it, and every ear of corn is perfect. Used to be a time you go to the store and pull, you had to shuck the corn to see if there are any worms or anything. Now, you don't have to look in there for nothing now. All you got to do is clean that junk, throw it in the pot. And don't even taste like corn no more. Right, right. Anything these Gentiles get their hands on is never the same anymore. Yeah. Go ahead and finish up, Steve.
Verse 26. And so all Israel shall be saved. As it is written, there shall come out of Judah the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Yaakov.
Now, it told me that all Israel shall be saved, right? Well, then that means that the nations have to become a part of spiritual Israel, don't they? Okay. But when I listen, everybody that die that's a Christian, and every Muslim that blow his fool self up, they instantly in heaven, in a garden of paradise, God, walking all up and down the streets of gold and everything, right? Right, right. Go on, brother.
Verse 27.
Yet Christ said, no man goes to heaven except him who came down from heaven. Yeah, go to read, man.
Verse 27. For this is my covenant unto them, when I shall take away their sins. As concerning the gospel, they are enemies for your sakes. But as touching the election, they are beloved for the Father's sakes. For the gifts and calling of Elohim are without repentance.
Right. He can't change from it. The word went out of his mouth, and it will not return to him void. The task of our Hebrew people is telling the world not only who the true and faithful Elohim is, but to share the responsibility of walking as his witnesses. Therefore, people we know or meet must know what our God is like through our words and examples that glorify and honor him as he is reflected in us. But let us be warned that sometimes partial blindness, or seeing but not understanding, or knowing what is right and not doing it, these things can be worse than not seeing it all. So we must stop trying to be someone that we are not called to be, because the deceiver will be your bedfellow and your counselor. But the rather, Israel, if we do Yahweh Elohim worship service and in faithfulness, the time will come when we will be proud to be called Israelites if we truly are his. Because of these great undeserved blessings of grace through covenants and promises made with our fathers and us, let us walk humbly and justly before Yahweh Elohim and man. This way, we will never be ashamed and be delighted to let everyone know about our relationship with Yahweh, Elohim, and Israel. Romans chapter 12 and verse 9 through chapter 13 and verse 14. Did we just read that? Oh, I'm sorry, brother.
No, we didn't read that.
We didn't? Okay, hold on for just a second. Okay, Romans chapter 12 and verse 9 through chapter 13 and verse 14.
verse 9. Let love be without dissimulation. Abhor that which is evil, cleave to that which is good. Be kindly affectioned one to another with brotherly love, in honor preferring one another, not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, rejoicing, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, continuing instant in prayer, distributing to the necessity of saints, given to hospitality. Bless them which persecute you, bless and curse not.
How do you bless someone who persecutes you? By not succumbing to the persecution. That'll be a blessing to them, won't it? Because if they make you fall, they're going to have some problem with your Creator. Like the scripture says, whosoever touch you, touch the apple of my eye, I'm going to recompense it to them. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 15. Rejoice with them that do rejoice, and weep with them that weep. Be of the same mind one toward another. Mind not high things, but condescend to men of low estate. Be not wise in your own conceits. Recompense to no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men. If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the
Right. Somebody do something to you don't like, don't seek revenge. Okay. Go on about your business. Just say you always judge between me and you, and go on about your business. And guess what? He'll deal with him when the time comes. All you got to do is watch. He'll deal with him when the time comes. And he's going to deal with him to let you know who he is. Yeah. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 20. Therefore, if thine enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in so doing, you shall heap coals of fire on his head.
In other words, you act righteously toward him, didn't you? Go ahead, brother.
With the Muslim, they didn't understand this back in the 60s.
And Muslims don't understand nothing today, brother. Especially these black Muslims. Go ahead.
Verse 21. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of Elohim. The powers that be are ordained of Elohim. Whosoever therefore resists the power, resists the ordinance of Elohim, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Will you not then be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and you shall have praise of the same. For he is the minister of Elohim to you for good. But if you do that which is evil, be afraid, for he bears not the sword in vain. For he is the minister of Elohim, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that does evil.
But you have to know how to use the sword. See, you don't have to use the sword in wickedness. You can use the sword in kindness. You must know how to use the sword. When a soldier go into war, he must know the correct ordinance to use, because that's why they have specialists in the service that decide which bomb to drop down in this chimney here to do the least amount of collateral damage. Well, it's the same thing with you. You must know which weapon to use and how far to push that weapon into someone before you have to back up, because if you don't, you can cause somebody a world of trouble, and if you fall down, you in big trouble. Like Yahweh told the prophet, don't you be confounded before them, because if you could be confounded, don't you be afraid of their faces, because if you're afraid of their faces, I'm going to confound you in front of them. In other words, I'm going to make you fall down in front of them. Stand up before your enemies. You know who they are.
Well, that's just like when you used to go to war, they said to be a weak heart, right? And then go back home, so the same thing with the word is
Right. Folks, all y'all scared, go home. Right. And that's what need to happen. All of us that's scared to serve the true and living God and don't want to serve the true and living God, you need to stay home. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 5. Wherefore you must needs be subject, not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake. For this cause pay you tribute also, for they are Elohim's ministers, attending continually upon this very thing. Render therefore to all their dues, tribute to whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor. Owe no man anything but to love one another. For he that loves another hath fulfilled the law. For this, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not covet. And if there be any other commandment, it is briefly comprehended in this saying, namely, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Love worketh no ill to his neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law.
And y'all know, sometimes you have to bend over backwards to love your neighbor. See, sometimes your neighbor gets so rambunctious, you have to just bend over backwards to love them. But see, that's what Yahweh wants you to do. And that's what he do to us. We haven't been cast away yet. Out of all the things we've done before we came into the word and since we've been under the blood, the precious blood of Yahshua, out of all the things we've done, Yahweh hasn't turned his back on us yet, have we? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 11. And that, knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believe. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. Let us walk honestly as in the day, not in rioting and drunkenness, not in chambering and wantonness, not in strife and envying, but put you on the Adonai Yahshua HaMashiach, and make not provision for the flesh to fulfill the lust thereof.
Amen. Ephesians chapter 1 and verse 3 through chapter 2 and verse 10. Ephesians chapter 1 and verse 3 through chapter 2 and verse 10.
Blessed be the Elohim and Father of our Adonai Yahshua HaMashiach, who have blessed us with all spiritual blessings in heavenly places in the Mashiach, according as he have chosen us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before him in love, having predestinated us unto the adoption of children by Yahshua HaMashiach to himself, according to the good pleasure of his will, to the praise of the glory of his grace, wherein he hath made us accepted in the beloved.
Now, remember now, he's talking to the Gentiles. And when he's saying us, he's talking about Israel, and you're going to pick that up later on when he changes and get to talking about but you. Okay, go ahead, brother.
Verse 7. In whom we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins, according to the riches of his grace, wherein he hath abounded toward us in all wisdom and prudence, having made known unto us the mystery of his will, according to his good pleasure, which he hath purposed in himself, that in the dispensation of the fullness of times he might gather together in one all things in the Mashiach, both which are in heaven and which are on earth, even in him, in whom also we have obtained an inheritance, being predestinated according to the purpose of him, who worketh all things after the counsel of his own will, that we should be to the praise of his glory, who first trusted in the Mashiach.
Right. This is why the Mashiach said, I'm not sent but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And it was Israel that he sent out to the world. Now Israel, now the world treats Israel like Israel is fifth-class citizens. Go on to read, brother.
Verse 12.
Verse 13.
13. In whom you also trusted, after that you heard the word of truth, the gospel of your salvation, in whom also after that you believed, you were sealed with that Holy Spirit of promise, which is the earnest of our inheritance unto the redemption of the purchased possession, unto the praise of his glory.
Israel is the purchased possession. See, Christ gave up his life for a ransom for Israel, didn't he? Not for the world, because the world wasn't in covenant with Yahweh. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 15. Wherefore I also, after I heard of your faith in the Adonai Yeshua, and love unto all the saints, cease not to give thanks for you, making mention of you in my prayers, that the Elohim of our Adonai Yeshua HaMashiach, the Father of glory, may give unto you the spirit of wisdom and revelation in the knowledge of him, the eyes of your understanding being enlightened, that you may know what is the hope of his calling, and what the riches of the glory of his inheritance in the saints, and what is the exceeding greatness of his power to usward who believe, according to the working of his mighty power, which he wrought in the Mashiach when he raised him from the dead, and set him at his own right hand in the heavenly places, far above all principality and power and might and dominion, and every name that is named, not only in this world, but also in that which is to come, and have put all things under his feet, and gave him to be the head over all things to the church, which is his body, the fullness of him that filleth all in all. And you have he quickened, who were dead in trespasses and sins, wherein in time past you walk according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now works in the children of disobedience, among whom also we all had our conversation in times past in the lust of our flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature the children of wrath, even as others. But Elohim, who is rich in mercy, for his great love wherewith he loved us, even when we were dead in sins, have quickened us together with the Mashiach. By grace you Gentiles are saved.
Right. It's different with us, but by grace you saved. Go ahead, brother.
And have raised us up together and made us sit together in heavenly places in the Mashiach, Yeshua, that in the ages to come he might show the exceeding riches of his grace in his kindness toward us through the Mashiach, Yeshua. For by grace are you saved through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is the gift of Elohim, not of works, lest any man should boast. For we are his workmanship, created in the Mashiach Yeshua unto good works, which Elohim have before ordained that we should walk in them.
Okay, my brother, I don't want to go no further than that. Matthew 11 in verse 16 through verse 30. Matthew 11 in verse 16 through verse 30.
We just read here how he said he made us to sit in heavenly places. Sure, things that happen to defend you. We not things that happen.
Right, you ain't gonna go there and sit down. You ain't gonna go there and sit down now. You have to have this person. What you want to go to heaven for? So I sit down and rest. You ain't got 50 years old. What you need to rest for? Huh? You ain't been out in the field chopping no cotton. You know what you need to rest for? You got your sweet job. Air conditioning and everything? Right. Right. Matthew 11 in verse 16 through verse 30.
Yes, sir. But whereunto shall I liken this generation? It is like unto children sitting in the markets and calling unto their fellows and saying, we have piped unto you, and you have not danced. We have mourned unto you, and you have not lamented.
Right. You haven't done what we doing. You haven't done what we trying to get you to do. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 18. For Johanan came neither eating nor drinking, and they say he have a devil. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, behold a man gluttonous and a winebibber, a friend of publicans and sinners. But wisdom is justified of her children. Then began he to upbraid the cities wherein most of his mighty works were done, because they repented not. Woe unto thee, Chorazin! Woe unto thee, Bethsaida! For if the mighty works which were done in you had been done in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago in sackcloth and ashes.
It's Tyre and Sidon.
Sidon, okay, Tyre and Sidon.
T-I-R-E spelled Tyre. It's Tyre and Sidon.
Okay.
Sidon. But go ahead.
Verse 22. But I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for Tyre and, what's the other one?
Sidon.
Sidon, at the day of judgment, than for you. And thou, Capernaum, which are exalted unto heaven, shall be brought down to hell. For if the mighty works which had been done in you had been done in Sodom, it would have remained unto this day. But I say unto you, that it shall be more tolerable for the land of Sodom in the day of judgment than for you.
Right, like the Mashiach said. If I like Yahweh said, if I would have went to the Gentiles, they would have heard me. But all day long, I've stretched out my hands to a disobedient and gainsaying people. Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 25. At that time, Yahshua answered and said, I thank thee, O Father, Adonai of heaven and earth, because you have hid these things from the wise and prudent, and have revealed them unto babes. Even so, Father, for so it seemed good in thy sight. All things are delivered unto me of my Father, and no man knows the Son but the Father, neither knows any man the Father save the Son.
No. Start that over again, verse 27.
All things are delivered unto me of my Father, and no man knows the Son but the Father, neither knoweth any man the Father save the Son, and he to whomsoever the Son will reveal him. Come unto me, all you that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and you shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light.
Amen. It's the flesh that makes the yoke hard. Yahweh Elohim is ruler over heaven and earth, over prosperity and disaster. So our lives are sprinkled with both types of experiences and are needed for us to grow spiritually. So when good times come, thank Elohim and use whatever he gives wisely, because it's easy to turn a blessing into a curse. But when bad times come, don't resent them, but ask what you can learn from the refining experience that is designed to make you a better and worthy Hebrew Israelite servant. Sound reasoning is good, but we must also share what Yahweh Elohim has done for us since we came under the holy blood. So we strive to keep the spirit of Yahshua as the vanguard of our daily lives. This way, we are assured of the light that we walk in. But no matter how we present the message, not everyone will accept it. So to protect ourselves, we must ever be faithful and responsibly present the gospel and leave the results in Yahweh's hands. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 17 through verse 11 through verse 17. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 11 through verse 17. Excuse me.
Verse 11. Blessed are you when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake.
And people persecute you when they try to get you to sin. That's persecution. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 12. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven, for so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt have lost his savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing but to be cast out and to be trodden under foot of men.
Praise Yah.
You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid.
Now remember, he's talking to Israel. Now he's not talking to the rest of the world. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 15. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it gives light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill.
Go ahead and read, brother.
For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled. Verse 19. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments, and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I say unto you, that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, you shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven.
Okay, my brother, Isaiah chapter 33 and verse 1 through verse 24. Isaiah chapter 33 and verse 1 through verse 24.
You know, because Pharisee was all the law. So then you got to go above that.
Right. Then it's all about the law as they saw it. As they had said. Why you think the commandment given our fathers when they came out of Egypt was eat that lamb with the shoes on the feet, their loins girded, and the staff in the hands, right? And he had folks laying on their right side eating Passover. You know why? Traditions that had came down. This is why the Messiah warned those scribes and Pharisees and politicians, man. He said, woe unto you scribes and Pharisees, for you make for you paint the sepulchres of your fathers, keep them clean, but you the one who killed them. Live you up to the measures of your fathers to kill the prophets. You want to be bad? Go on to read, brother.
He says, chapter 33, verse 1. Woe to thee that spoileth, and thou wast not spoiled, and dealeth treacherously, and they deal not treacherously with thee. When thou shalt cease to spoil, thou shalt be spoiled.
When you shall cease to spoil, you shall be spoiled. And when you shall make an end of dealing treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with you. Cut and dry. No ifs, no ands, and buts about it. You can look for it. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 2. O Yahweh, be gracious unto us. We have waited for thee. Be you their arm every morning, our salvation also in the time of trouble.
Praise Yah.
At the noise of the tumult, the people fled. At the lifting up of yourself, the nations were scattered. And your spoil shall be gathered like the gathering of the caterpillar. As the running to and fro of locusts shall he run upon them. Yahweh is exalted, for he dwells on high. He hath filled Yehudah with judgment and righteousness. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of your times and the strength of salvation. The fear of Yahweh is his treasure. Behold, their valiant ones shall cry without. The ambassadors of peace shall weep bitterly. The highways lie waste. The wayfaring man ceases. He hath broken the covenant. He hath despised the cities. He regards no man. The earth mourns and languisheth. Lebanon is ashamed and hewn down. Sharon is like a wilderness, and Bashan and Carmel shake off their fruits. Now will I rise, says Yahweh. Now will I be exalted. Now will I lift up myself. You shall conceive chaff. You shall bring forth stubble. Your breath as fire shall devour you. And the people shall be as the burnings of lime. As thorns cut up shall they be burned in the fire. Hear, you that are far off, what I have done. And you that are near, acknowledge my might. The sinners in Yehudah are afraid. Fearfulness have surprised the hypocrites. Who among us shall dwell with the devouring fire? Who among us shall dwell with everlasting burnings? He that walketh righteously and speaketh upright. He that despises the gain of oppressions, that shakes his hand from holding of bribes, that stoppeth his ears from hearing of blood, and shutteth his eyes from seeing evil, he shall dwell on high. His place of defense shall be the munition of rocks. Bread shall be given him. His waters shall be sure.
Praise Yah.
Thine eyes shall see the king in his beauty. They shall behold the land that is very far off. Thine heart shall meditate terror. Where is the scribe? Where is the receiver? Where is he that counted the towers? Thou shalt not see a fierce people, a people of a deeper speech than you can perceive. of a stammering tongue that you cannot understand. Look upon Zion, the city of our solemnities. Thine eyes shall see Jerusalem, a quiet habitation, a tabernacle that shall not be taken down. Not one of the staves thereof shall ever be removed, neither shall any of the cords thereof be broken. But there, the glorious Yahweh will be unto us a place of broad rivers and streams, wherein shall go no galley with oars, neither shall gallant ships pass thereby. For Yahweh is our judge, Yahweh is our lawgiver, Yahweh is our king, he will save us. Thy tacklings are loose, they could not well strengthen their mast. They could not spread the sail. Then is the prey of a great spoil divided, the lame take the prey. And the inhabitants shall not say, I am sick. The people that dwell therein shall be forgiven their iniquity.
Praise Yah. Because Israel have received the holy oracles and covenants of Yahweh Elohim, because we have taken Yeshua's yoke upon our shoulders, all thoughts, sin, or the appearance thereof is a persecution from Lucifer. But surely this is to our benefit, because it takes our eyes off earthly rewards, strip away superficial beliefs, it strengthens the power and faith of those who endure, and our attitudes through the persecution will serve as an example for others to follow. The very fact that one is being persecuted is because you have been faithful. Demons have no reason to notice his unfaithful children. But surely Yeshua will reward his faithful servants by receiving them into his glorious kingdom. The principles of the commandments and doctrines are timeless and must guide our conduct. But what it really does is reveal the nature and reveals our nature. But what it really does is reveal Yahweh's nature and his will. This is why our hearts and deeds are judged, because the heart is where our allegiance lies. So be very concerned about your heart, which people see. So be very concerned about your heart, which people see, as by your actions, which are seen by everybody that you meet. But let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Isaiah chapter 63 and verse 7 through chapter 66 and verse 24. Isaiah chapter 63 and verse 7 through chapter 66 and verse 24.
Starting at 63 verse 7.
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah 63 verse 7. I will mention the loving kindnesses of Yahweh and the praise of Yahweh, according to all that Yahweh hath bestowed on us, and the great goodness toward the house of Israel, which he hath bestowed on them according to his mercies, and according to the multitude of his loving kindnesses. For he said, surely they are my people, children that will not lie, so he was their Savior. In all their affliction he was afflicted, and the angel of his presence saved them. In his love and in his pity he redeemed them, and he bare them and carried them all the days of old. But they rebelled and vexed his Holy Spirit. Therefore he was turned to be their enemy, and he fought against them. Then he remembered the days of old, Moshe and his people, saying, where is he that brought them up out of the sea with the shepherd of his flock? Where is he that put his Holy Spirit within him, that led them by the right hand of Moshe with his glorious arm, dividing the water before them, to make himself an everlasting name, that led them through the deep as a horse in the wilderness, that they should not stumble? As a beast goes down into the valley, the Spirit of Yahweh calls him to rest. So did you lead your people to make yourself a glorious name. Look down from heaven and behold from the habitation of your holiness and of your glory. Where is your zeal and your strength, the sounding of your bowels and of your mercies toward me? Are they restrained? Doubtless you are our father, though Abraham be ignorant of us and Israel acknowledge us not. You, O Yahweh, are our Father, our Redeemer. Your name is from everlasting.
Praise Yah.
O Yahweh, why have you made us to err from your ways and harden our heart from your fear?
Why have you made us to err from your ways and harden us from your fear? Because your heart wasn't right. Go ahead, bro.
Last part, verse 17. Return for your servant's sake the tribes of your inheritance. The people of your holiness have possessed it but a little while. Our adversaries have trodden down your sanctuary. We are thine. Thou never bearest rule over them. They were not called by your name. Oh, that you would rend the heavens, that you would come down, that the mountains might flow at your presence. As when the melting fire burneth, the fire causes the water to boil, to make your name known to your adversaries, that the nations may tremble at your presence.
Praise Yah.
When you did terrible things which we look not for, you came down, the mountains flowed down at your presence. For since the beginning of the world, men have not heard, nor perceived by the ear, neither have the eye seen, O Elohim, beside you, what he hath prepared for him that wait for him. Thou meetest him that rejoices and worketh righteousness, those that remember you in your ways. Behold, you are angry, for we have sinned. In those is continuance, and we shall be saved. But we are all as an unclean thing, and all our righteousness are as filthy rags. And we all do fade as a leaf, and our iniquities, like the wind, have taken us away. And there is none that calls upon your name, that stirs up himself to take hold of you. For you have hid your face from us, and have consumed us because of our iniquities. But now, O Yahweh, you are our Father. We are the clay, and you our potter. We all are the work of your hand. Be not wroth very sore, O Yahweh, neither remember iniquity forever. Behold, see, we beseech you, we are all your people. Your holy cities are a wilderness. Zion is a wilderness, Jerusalem a desolation. Our holy and our beautiful house, where our fathers praise you, is burnt up with fire, and all our pleasant things are laid waste. Will you refrain yourself for these things, O Yahweh? Will you hold your peace and afflict us very sore? I am sought of them that ask not for me. I am found of them that sought me not. I said, look at me, unto a nation that was not called by my name. I have spread out my hands all the day unto a rebellious people, which walks in a way that was not good after their own thoughts. A people that provoke me to anger continually to my face, that sacrifices in gardens and burn incense upon altars of bricks, which remain among the graves and lodge in the monuments, which eat swine's flesh, and the broth of abominable things is in their vessels, which say, stand by yourself, come not near to me, for I am holier than you. These are smoke in my nose, a fire that burneth all the day.
You know why? Yahweh stacked every man one against another, right? You may not commit adultery, but you may steal. If you lie, you'll steal. If you steal, you'll cheat. And if you cheat, you'll kill. And if you kill, you might as well commit adultery. All sin is sin. Ain't no big sin and little sin. Go ahead. The wages of sin, singular, is death. But through the grace of Yahweh Elohim, he's given us leeway to serve him that we might be saved, because we know we ain't nothing but filthy rags before him. All of us know that. Ain't no telling what we might not do when we walk out that door there.
You know, Ella, that's what we're getting right there when he says we harden our hearts, because when it came over to Egypt, all the temptations they saw, you have to say how they feel with heart. He didn't give them a heart to receive them.
Right. They got out there, wasn't out there 5 months, was ready to go back to Egypt, made them go to chaos. Was ready to go back to Egypt. You know why? Didn't have no faith, no trust in the Creator. Man, he brought us out here to kill us, man. Brought us out here to starve us, to make us die of thirst. Because there ain't no water out here. We tired of eating this light bread that you've been giving us before the manger, man. Give us some food to eat. And he said, I ain't going to give it to you for, so you go and tell them, I ain't going to give them no meat for a day, 2 days, a week. I'm going to give it to them for a whole month till they come out of their nostrils. In other words, till we loathe it. Right. And that's what we have a tendency to do. We end up, and Yahweh bless us, and he bless us. We be getting this and getting that and getting this and getting that. And pretty soon, we find out that we loathe Yahweh because we can't take care of all that mess. Yeah, go ahead, brother. That's why I say be careful for what you ask for, because you might get it and turn it into a curse. Go ahead and read, brother.
Isaiah chapter 65, verse 6. Behold, it is written before me, I will not keep silence, but will recompense, even recompense into their bosom, your iniquities and the iniquities of your fathers together, says Yahweh, which have burned incense upon the mountains and blaspheme me upon the hills. Therefore will I measure their former work into their bosom.
Verse 7 says, your iniquities and the iniquities of your fathers together, saith Yahweh, which have burned incense upon the mountains and blasphemed me upon the hill. Therefore will I measure their former work into their bosom. In other words, we suffer for what our fathers did. And we got, not only do we have to carry our own stuff, we got to carry what our fathers did, right? And then we want to play games. We want to be like Mike. Yeah, go on and read, brother.
Verse 8. Thus says Yahweh, as the new wine is found in the cluster, and one says, destroy it not, for a blessing is in it, so will I do for my servant's sake, that I may not destroy them all. And I will bring forth a seed out of Jacob, and out of Yehuda an inheritor of my mountains, and mine elect shall inherit it, and my servant shall dwell there. And Sharon shall be a fold of flocks, and the valley of Achor a place for the herds to lie down in, for my people that have sought me.
And when you go and check where we going into the land at, once we leave out of the wilderness, we going in through the same places that our fathers went in, through the valley of Achor, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 11. But you are they that forsake Yahweh, that forget my holy mountain, that prepare a table for that troop, and that furnish the drink offering unto that number.
Why? Because this place over here, man, look at it. We got stuff hanging all up in the ceiling, got a tent around the wall and everything, right? Folks in here with no suits and all that expensive clothes on. And you know what we say? I can't bring my friends over there. Well, then what you coming here for? Go ahead. Yahweh told you to get this word and tell it to everybody, right? Well, then, how can they learn except they have a preacher? Go ahead and read. Our job is to gather the lost sheep to sanctuary. So if you don't believe this is the sanctuary, you need to be gathering folks to the sanctuary place where you believe is the sanctuary. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 12. Therefore will I number you to the sword, and you shall all bow down to the slaughter. Because when I called, you did not answer. When I spake, you did not hear, but did evil before mine eyes, and did choose that way in, I delighted not. Therefore thus says the Adonai Elohim, behold, my servant shall eat, but you shall be hungry. Behold, my servant shall drink, but you shall be thirsty. Behold, my servant shall rejoice, but you shall be ashamed. Behold, my servant shall sing for joy of heart, but you shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit. And you shall leave your name for a curse unto my chosen, for the Adonai Elohim shall slay you, and call his servant by another name, that he who bless himself in the earth shall bless himself in the Elohim of truth. And he that swears in the earth shall swear by the Elohim of truth, because the former troubles are forgotten, and because they are hid from mine eyes. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. But be you glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing, and her people a joy. And I will rejoice in Jerusalem and join my people, and the voice of weeping shall be no more heard in her, nor the voice of crying. There shall be no more thence an infant of days, nor an old man that have not filled his days. For the child shall die 100 years old, but the sinner being 100 years old shall be accursed. And they shall build houses and inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards and eat the fruit of them. They shall not build and another inhabit. They shall not plant and another eat. For as the days of a tree are the days of my people, and mine elect shall long enjoy the work of their hands. They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth for trouble, for they are the seed of the blessed of Yahweh, and their offspring with them. And it shall come to pass that before they call, I will answer. And while they are yet speaking, I will hear. The wolf and the lion shall feed together, and the wolf and the lamb, shall feed together, and the lion shall eat straw like the bullock, and thus shall be the serpent's meat. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, says Yahweh. Thus says Yahweh, the heaven is my throne, and the earth is my footstool. Where is the house that you build unto me, and where is the place of my rest? For all those things have mine hand made, and all those things have been, says Yahweh. But to this man will I look, even to him that is poor and of a contrite spirit, and trembles at my word. He that killeth an ox is as if he slew a man. He that sacrifices a lamb, as if he cut off a dog's neck. He that offers an oblation, as if he offered swine's blood. He that burns incense, as if he blessed an idol. Yes, they have chosen their own ways, and their soul delights in their abominations. I also would choose their delusions, and would bring their fears upon them, because when I called, none did answer. When I spake, they did not hear. But they did evil before mine eyes, and chose that in which I delighted not.
Go ahead, brother.
Verse 5, hear the word of Yahweh, you that tremble at his word. Your brethren that hated you, that cast you out for my name's sake, said, let Yahweh be glorified. But he shall appear to your joy, and they shall be ashamed. A voice of noise from the city, a voice from the temple, a voice of Yahweh that renders recompense to his enemies.
In other words, at this time he's going to be in the temple. The Mashiach is going to be in the temple in Jerusalem, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 7. Before she travailed, she brought forth. Before her pain came, she was delivered of a man-child. Who have heard such a thing? Who have seen such things? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day? Or shall a nation be born at once? For as soon as Zion travailed, she brought forth her children. Shall I bring to the birth and not cause to bring forth, says Yahweh? Shall I cause to bring forth and shut the womb, says your Elohim? Rejoice you with Jerusalem, and be glad with her, all you that love her. Rejoice for joy with her, all you that mourn for her, that you may suck and be satisfied with the breast of her consolations, that you may milk out and be delighted with the abundance of her glory. For thus says Yahweh, behold, I will extend peace to her like a river, and the glory of the Euro-Gentiles like a flowing stream. Then shall you suck, you shall be carried upon her sides, and be dandled upon her knees. As one whom his mother comforts, so will I comfort you, and you shall be comforted in Jerusalem. And when you see this, your heart shall rejoice, and your bones shall flourish like an herb, and the hand of Yahweh shall be known toward his servants, and his indignation toward his enemies. For behold, Yahweh will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will Yahweh plead with all flesh, and the slain of Yahweh shall be many. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh and the abomination and the mouse shall be consumed together, says Yahweh. For I know their works and their thoughts. It shall come that I will gather all nations and tongues, and they shall come and see my glory. And I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape of them unto the nations, to Spain, Pud, and Lud, that draw the bow to Tubal and Javan, to the isles afar off, that have not heard my fame, neither have seen my glory, and they shall declare my glory among the Euro Gentiles. And they shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto Yahweh out of all nations, upon horses, and in chariots, and in litters, and upon mules, and upon swift beasts, to my holy mountain, Jerusalem, says Yahweh, as the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel into the house of Yahweh. And I will also take of them for priests and for Levites, says Yahweh. For as the new heavens and the new earth,
Go ahead, brother.
verse 20. And they shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto Yahweh out of all nations, upon horses, and in chariots, and in litters, and upon mules, and upon swift beasts, to my holy mountain, Jerusalem, says Yahweh, as the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel into the house of Yahweh. And I will also take of them for priests and for Levites, says Yahweh. For as the new heavens and the new earth, which I will make, shall remain before me, says Yahweh, so shall your seed and your name remain. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Shabbat to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, says Yahweh. And they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me, for their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be an abhorring unto all flesh.
Praise Yah. As we see, brothers and sisters, Yahweh has a great day planned for us, but it's not going to come free. We're going to have to work for it. It's not going to be like it was when Yahweh just came into Egypt and our fathers didn't know what was going on. This time we know. Yahweh has given us time, this time, because our time is at hand and his people must hear his word. But he has to hear them through the ones that are sent, that will bring forth the salvation of this earth. And if we don't do it, if not us, then who? And if not now, then when? And remember, Yahweh is able to raise up stones to be children of Abraham. So it's been said, so let it be written. Even so come, Lord Yeshua, and save Jacob out of all of his trouble.